just wanted to say that the physical release of my webcomic Unfamiliar is up for pre-order right now. Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne. And a couple of you suggested that I should make my own picrew, which is basically like this Japanese website where you can make like icon or character makers. And I thought this should be easy to do in 24 hours, but I almost didn't make it. I was very wrong. So first things first, the entire website is in Japanese, so it was a little tricky at first to navigate. I do understand a fair amount of Japanese because I took it in college and continued studying off and on, but I'm basically illiterate when it comes to actually reading, so I definitely had to do a lot of translating. I also heard that it's best practices on this website to try to come up with the name in Japanese as well, since it's mainly a Japanese website, so I just basically wrote that it's a character maker. And then I thought about trying to like add my name and stuff. This doesn't have to be permanent when you're first making your icon or your character maker, so you can just throw in something temporary. At first it was far too long. And then I wanted to select the option on the left because this means that basically when people open it, they can pick whatever they want and it's not randomized, because the other side is just a randomizer version of it. So once I had that all figured out, it was time to start drawing. So the first thing I needed to decide was whether I wanted it to be like cropped in or like more of a full body shot. I thought that for this project I would just do mainly a headshot and like shoulders up, and so I just wanted to try to create like a very simple base that hopefully people could make a lot of characters off of. My art style is very cartoony, as you guys probably already know, so just using this sort of like big head round sort of chibi sort of design works well for me. And then I wanted to try to draw like a little bit of the eyes and a little bit of the hair just to give myself an idea of where everything's gonna go, but keep in mind that like you're gonna need to separate all of these things on separate layers so that you can have them as separate options in the character maker. So I only inked the like outline of the head, the neck, and the shoulders because I knew those weren't going to be changing. And then you have to add in all the different skin colors you want. So I tried to go from like light to dark skin tones, and then a couple bonus like fantasy colors, like sort of like a grayish tone. And because I wanted there to be an option for elf ears, I had to make sure that the ears were separate as well and that I colored all of them correctly to match. So I also added in the elf ears and added all the coloration for them as well. Something that I hadn't really thought about or anticipated was that most of this process was actually going to be just like saving everything and then trying to get each thing individually uploaded into the uploader. And so I was very comfortable with the idea of making lots and lots of different colors and iterations of every item without realizing how much time that was going to add in the uploading process. So for the eye shape, I was originally going to do multiple different eye shapes, and I'm still considering maybe adding that in later, but for now we're going to be working with this default like spiky round eye, and then have lots of different irises that you can choose from. So I try to do some like wobbly stuff, some hearts, some ghosts. These are all things that I feel like my style is kind of known for, so I thought it would be absolutely mandatory in an AAP crew of mine. I did a bunch of different color options, and then I just copy pasted those same color options into each different shape, and I did that by just using a white mask. So at this point I really wanted to make sure that I could upload things properly, so you add in a part, you just name it, and then you click on that top teal button, which just allows you to add items to the part. So you want to upload basically your basic version of whatever you're doing, and you do it twice. One is like the thumbnail, and then one is the actual thing. I just use the like blank colorless versions for like my initial version of each part, and then I added in another part for the ears and everything that I had drawn so far, so I could just fill that out later. So yeah, there was a lot of like waiting for it to load and then like individually adding each item. It was painful. And then you have to go into the edit for this item, and then each version of the eyes will have the same color options. And then I also individually imported all of those for the eyes. Again, this is not how it has to be, but this is how I did it. So I later figured out how to do a batch upload, which made it the whole time for the uploading process a lot less horrible. So the ears were the last ones that I did in this like horrible, inefficient way. Next I wanted to draw a bunch of different mouths and noses. I tried to do some that are like my normal like shape noses that I do in my comic. Now here's how you do the batch upload properly. You just click on this button and add as many like items as you need for the different like versions of the nose, for example. Then you're going to click up here, which will bring you to this screen, and then you're going to want to bring in all your different images that should be labeled 1 through whatever amount that you need, and then it should just upload exactly how you want. Now keep in mind it's not actually going to show you that it's uploaded, but you just have to click back on the part and then check. Now this is when I really wanted to see how things were working, and it seemed like everything was working pretty well. Though I did notice that the skin color and the ear color were not matching up, so I needed to fix that and bind them together somehow. Then it was time to start drawing the bangs. I wanted there to be a lot of different hair colors, and this was such a painful process, but it was so worth it because I hate not having enough hair color options and character customizers, so I couldn't be like that. I wanted to have like a lot of different bangs as well. Some people, when they're doing their character creators, will do the whole hair, but I wanted you guys to be able to mix and match bangs and back of hair, and I thought that would make it easier to layer as well. I knew I wanted there to be like a lot of different options for the bangs, so I had like straight bangs and then these like fluffy Sailor Moon ones, shaggy bangs that would work better maybe with like shorter hair, and then I knew I should probably make a no bangs version, but this part looked so weird. I still kept it, and it actually layered with the back hair way better than I expected, but man, I was having to trust the process, especially because I didn't have any brows yet, so my character was looking kind of funky. And then I used the no bangs hair for a lot of like drawing the back hair, just because it's going to show more of the back hair than any of the other ones, and I just thought that would be the best way to do it, and that worked out quite well. So I wanted to have a couple different lengths and some different like texture options, like slightly curly. I wanted to have a lot more different types of hairs. I ended up with a pretty basic set, but I was at this point starting to panic because like I thought this part would be so fast and it was taking so incredibly long. And then I added some blushes as well. I wanted to do blush on the ears, but I didn't line up the elf ears and the normal ears properly, so I ended up just sticking with blush on the face. I did 3 different versions, one which is like a very sunburnt e-girl style, one that's just like lines like a manga, and then one that's just like a basic blush. And then it was time to add in all the different outfits. So again, like with the hair, I originally planned for there to be like 100 different outfits, but at this point I was pushing into the late night, and so I decided to try to stick with some basic like shapes. So I had like a hoodie, a v-neck, a turtleneck, and like a scoop for a t-shirt, as well as one fancy like cute fairy like blouse. And I do feel like that mix with a lot of different color options did allow for a lot of different like vibes for the outfits, which is good. But I think if I ever made another picrew, I would try to do some like layering options, so like maybe a jacket section, that kind of thing. And then it was time to export them all. This was miserable. This took forever. But yeah, I figured out that if you label them in each folder as 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can use the mass uploader, and that worked out quite well. And when you do batch uploads, you upload by color, not by the actual like style, which is interesting. So just make sure that the style is like the style that is 1 for like blue is also 1 for every single other color, and then you'll be set. It won't cause any weird problems. Then I had to use the palette tool, which just basically means that like if you change the skin color of the face and the shoulders, you're also changing it for the ears. So I just sort of connected those. There was a lot more exporting for the hair. This took forever. I ended up not even recording a lot of this because it was just so tedious. But you can kind of see what I'm doing here. They're all sorted by the color that they are, and they're all in order from 1 through, well, 13, which is how many colors I decided to have. Foolish. Once the hair was exported and uploaded, it was really starting to get to the fun part, which is like adding all the crazy accessories and stuff. I did head accessories, which I really enjoy on other picrew kind of games, I guess, my icon makers. So I did like some head wings, some cat ears, and you can remove the ears completely if you just want them to have cat ears, as well as like a halo and stuff. I just thought it all looked pretty cute, and of course I had to make sure that it would layer properly with all the different hairs, but that was for later. And then I added another section for jewelry, so I did this like cute little strawberry choker. These chokers actually don't layer properly with the turtleneck, but I'm just hoping that people won't try to use them with the turtleneck, honestly. And then I added in another category for like face details. So I did like a red eye, a band-aid, a scar, and also like sleep circles, and then white and brown freckles. And then I added in some brows. This ended up being kind of a waste of time because you can barely see the brows on most of the bangs, but whatever. And then I had to make my own like little icons that just sort of show you what each part is going to be. So like there's a little thumbnail for each section, and it just says no image if you don't add something in. So for each part, like the base, the ears, eyes, and nose, I was adding in the different icons, which just help make it a little easier to navigate the icon maker thing. At this point I was getting pretty exhausted, but I knew I was in the home stretch, so I definitely was doing a lot of like testing to make sure everything was working. There were a couple times where things were not layered together properly, and also a terrifying moment where my files wouldn't go in, but then I realized it's because I hadn't named them numbers like I was supposed to. And after that it was mostly smooth sailing. The fast uploads and everything really did improve things. You just have to do it for each and every color, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy. And once you test everything out, getting the layers in order isn't too bad. Then I just wanted to make some quick backgrounds. At this point my wrist is killing me, but I knew I could throw together some blobby little backgrounds that could definitely add a lot of fun to the maker, so that you could put your characters in slightly different environments. And there you saw me just like shifting the order of things. You can play around with this a lot, and it's non-destructive, so you can just keep messing with it. The only thing I allowed to be moved is the eyes, just because I feel like you can make your character look like older or younger just by moving the eyes up and down. I tried to do this with the nose, but for some reason it teleported the nose over to the corner, and I just kind of ignored it after that. Then I added in a English and Japanese description. My Japanese description is a disgrace. I hope my Japanese teacher doesn't see this. And then I just added in a little icon of one of the characters that I made with the picrew, and then it was basically done. So this is how mine turned out. You just click on the little red button. It says Asobu, which means play, and then you can just make whatever character you want with all the options that I had. Originally I had much grander ideas for what this is going to turn out to be. I wanted to have like multiple different bases with different jawlines and all that stuff, but I still think that for a first attempt there are quite a few different combinations you can make. It really does grow exponentially with every new color or style that you add, and I think you can make some pretty cute characters. I think my favorite items are like the white freckles, the little like nose bridge piercing, and this puffy top that I made, as well as the wings on the head. I'm just such a sucker for that. I think it calls back to my Gaia Online days or something like that. So here's one example of what you can do with it. There's a link in the pinned comment probably where you can play it if you want. I heavily used 2 tutorials. This first one was the main one that I used. There will also be a link to this. It has very good step-by-step information, and then the second one is better for translating all the different menus and options. Huge thanks to my wonderful patrons, including Katsuki, New Smoke, Strawberry Andromeda, Raven's Crow, Zocelot, Winterheart, Harold Bird, Jabber Dabber Doo, Teddy Spaghetti, Gender Was Stolen, Verspookable, it's Jamal, Kay, Rodrigo, Momok, Kadaria, Deadly Nightshade Art, Astral Fox Art, Middle Z, Lily Allure, The Expressive Poker Face, Tsubaki, Michael Lavali, Cutie Pie, Ruin Raincrow, Ice Cream Pal, Kola, Your Boy ST, JJ Jade, and of course, Lib 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 Lib.